Yo, what's good, everybody? What up, YouTube world? It's your boy SBX back with it with another I missed the 90s and the early 2000s video. So I know I haven't done much videos as of lately. So I know my last video I did a while back was just talking about just the essence of both, well, three things about, the 90s, the early 2000s, and basically this current generation. So on this video I want to talk about more on the trends, what I'm saying. So basically, for people who used to rock, like, this is from the black people's perspective, just to let you know. So I'm talking more of a hip-hop perspective. I mean, as far as like other ethnicities, I'm sure that you guys were rocking other things that is like considered early 2000s look on the emo phase or whatever, but we all did was we used to wear like tall tees and baggy pants, you know what I mean? So for people who used to rock like different name brands like the Rockaware, Sean John, South Pole, Inichi, Carl Kanais, the Tommy Hilfigers, the baggy version of them, Pele, Averex, Parasucos, Red Monkey jeans. I mean, from the 90s perspective, I know we started with the baggy era, so that's what it all started with me growing up, was just the baggy era, because I was born in 91, so everybody was still wearing things that's kind of like 80s like in a sense, but of course people wearing like like button up shirts and tight jeans and shit, haircuts like in a faded, like a high top guppy faded style, the New Jack style, the New Jack swing style. I feel like all I can remember is mostly the late 90s look, like the lumberjack button-up shirts, baggy pants, the lugs. Of course, people were rocking Timbs and Reebok sneakers and other type of sneakers per se. But of course, basketball, football, hockey jerseys. The hockey jerseys was mainly a 90s thing, but I feel like eventually after the early 2000s hit, things was more like mostly basketball and football jerseys, and you would be the man back in the early 2000s if you were rocking a throwback jersey with the fitted cap to match, that has any of your favorite basketball, football teams, and this is the thing that I really miss about the early 2000s the most, was just the way we used to dress. Like, I miss the days where we used to wear t-shirts that is like so big that it looked like it fits like an overweight fat person per se, like a 5x, like a 3x, 4x, 5x t-shirts. Like the bottom of the shirt will cover our kneecaps, and the sleeve of the arm will cover like all the way to our elbows and almost reach our wrists. You know what I'm saying? The baggy pants, and if it's the summertime, you have shorts that is like almost all the way to your ankles and shit like that, cover your kneecaps and stuff like that. So I feel like I prefer shorts like that in today's society, today's generation, than wearing them damn white people 1960s Jesse Owens hoochie daddy looking ass shorts. You know what I mean? Like I can't rock those shorts. I'm sorry, I can't. Like, I don't know how we went from wearing shorts that look like a wrestler would fucking wear to now I mean, from back then, it's like we was rocking the pants, like rather if it's like like a jean pants, or like the khakis, the dickies, or something like that, the caprice types, to they weren't reverting back to dressing shit from the fucking 80s or the 1960s Olympics or some shit, or 1940s or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, that's my thing about how niggas is wearing these days. It's just like dudes are dressing more like girls than the girls. Like, I've seen now the girls are wearing baggy pants now. Like, anytime I like travel, go to school, or if I'm taking the train, riding a bus, going to the supermarket, going to the mall or some shit, I see mostly white girls, Hispanics, some black girls are bringing back the 1990s type of pants, you know, some shit that one of those grudge rock people would fucking wear. Like, in fact, the jeans that, if you ever watched the Wild Thornberrys, Eliza's sister Debbie, it's like she got them them girls were wearing them damn Debbie Thornberry ass jeans, you know, like the jeans that are so baggy and their kneecaps, like the knee, it's like this, the knee of the jeans, it's like the rip off of the knee part of the jeans. It's like, that's what I be seeing girls dressing like, you know. Like, on top of that, you know, the lumberjacks and all that. To be honest with you, I feel like the girls are dressing more cooler nowadays than the dudes. Like, it's like nowadays we're switching how the style looking like. Because if it was like the 90s and the early 2000s, that's like a hell fucking no. I'm talking about late 90s, like maybe 95, 96, 97, 98, 99 to the 90, to the 99, to the 2000s. Like, that shit would be like, nah nigga, you look gay as fuck, you know what I'm saying? Because I mean, back in those days, if you wearing tight ass jeans and tight ass like shirts and shit, it's, yeah, you look like you considered gay, you know what I mean? So that's how niggas will make fun of you if you dress like a bitch, you know what I mean? So nowadays it's like, it's okay. Like, the trends that today's generation have to offer, like for the dudes, it's like I mentioned, their clothes are so tight, the pants is too tight, and people wearing some ugly ass fucking Yeezy sneakers and Balenciagas, you know what I'm saying, and Christian Dior's and shit like that. Most motherfuckers can't even fucking afford. But as far as like Jordans, Air Force Ones, Vans, like, I mean, as far as Vans, I've never had a problem with Vans. Like, I feel like Vans were the sneakers when even black people wasn't even rocking them. You know, it was usually a white people thing, you know, for skateboarders and shit. Because Vans been out since the 70s or something like that. But nobody was rocking them. But then all of a sudden, like, when black people were rocking them, it's like one of those emo wannabe black kids who happens to like anime or some shit, and then slowly but surely everybody was rocking Vans. I always wanted a pair of Vans since high school, you know what I'm saying? I remember my sister thought, like, you look weird as fuck wearing fucking Vans though. But now, when the, you know, the late 2000s hit, now all of a sudden niggas is rocking Vans and shit. So I mean, I got at least 2 pairs of fucking Vans at this point, and I'm like, yo, I always thought them sneakers were cool. So I can't diss on the Vans, I can't diss on Jordans, despite the fact that they're so fucking expensive. That's why I'm just dissing on that, because let's be real, it's just like, Jordan's been around since forever. But I remember those days where we used to rock different types of Jordans, which I forgot what they were, but based on the picture, those were the Jordans we was rocking in the early 2000s, you know what I'm saying? So needless to say, it's like, you know, even with like Air Force Ones, those were always gonna be those sneakers, no matter where you're from, no matter what time period you come from. Like, Air Force Ones forever be the shit. But what I feel like what is missing about the Air Force Ones is that, you know, the white and yellow ones, those were like, was considered either the athlete's shoes, where you came from being a basketball player, or, you know, wearing a school uniform type shit. Those were sneakers that the white and yellow Air Force Ones were rocking. But I feel like they need to bring those back, like the white and yellows, the white and blues, the white and reds. You know what I'm saying? Like those old school style type of Air Force Ones people were rocking, like in the late 90s and the early 2000s. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's what I kind of miss. And also what I miss about the early 2000s trend is the NBA look. You know, like, for example, the NBA basketball pants that had all the teams on there. Like, I miss those days. I wish I had a pair of those back in the days. Like, those were the shit. And also the hats and the jackets that match with it. You know what I mean? So I feel like nobody's not rocking them. Like, as far as the basketball pants, the only people who probably still rock them are either crackheads, old heads, or niggas who just got out of jail for doing a 20-year bid or some shit. So those are the only people who probably still rocking the basketball pants, you know what I'm saying? Or just overall the baggy era, you know what I'm saying? So somebody who's been arrested since 2001, 2, 3, 4, or 5 or whatever. Those are the only people who still rocking them, or niggas who just been out of jail, or just never been out of the phase of just trying to copy every other's style, you know what I mean? But as for me, I feel like I try to hold on to the baggy era as long as I can. But to be quite frank, folks, I feel like you can't even buy anything that is like early 2000s anymore unless you go on Amazon for some clothes. But you might get the jeans. But as far as like the name brand shit that people were rocking since 2000, you can't find shit like that, you know what I mean? So as far as like, maybe if you can go to a flea market or some shit like that, that's your only best bet. But I just kind of felt like the early 2000s were the days where we used to dress cool, you know what I mean? Like I said, with the basketball like pants, the jerseys, the warm-up coats, the fitted caps, you know what I mean? Like the belts that had rather your name or whatever you want, the light up belts. I miss those belts, or the belts with the spinners, like the 22 rims on a fucking car. And I'm like, even with those, nobody's not even rolling with 22s anymore. It's the Speedwells or anything like that. Like, that's just go to show that we're in a whole different fucking plateau type generation, you know? And lastly too, it's like every time I watch like music videos from the 90s and the early 2000s, or movies that were made from the 90s and the early 2000s, like, damn, like, I really miss the days that for the dudes we were rocking Sean John, Fat Farm, Rockaware, and Parasucos, Red Monkey jeans, and all this other shit. The track suits and shit like that, with like that matches. And even for the women that wear the sweatsuits and stuff like that, and the baby fat and stuff like that, you know. It's just that even the girls from the early 2000s had a different style. Hell, I remember even the days when females just came back from the nail salon, they had one of them slippers, you know. We used to call them chicken head slippers, because only them fucking chicken head hoes be wearing them shits in public and whatever, besides just wearing them when you get your nails, their nails done, their feet done and all that, you know what I mean? So, you know, I don't see women wearing them no more, because even them shits be like, them shoes don't even last long. And You know, even if they wear what is what's called the chicken head slippers, you know, only female crackhead whores be wearing them when they rip off or when they rip apart. You know what I mean? So those were the days for the females who were rocking them shits too. You know, and on top of that, the thing that I didn't like about the early 2000s trend were the see-through Air Force Ones. Those were ugly as fuck. I don't want nobody seeing my feet, especially if I'm wearing socks. Like, those were the most tackiest shit ever, but usually niggas in the South was wearing them shits the most. You know what I mean? So, I mean, other than that, like, even when you had like your shirt, like for example, on some hood shit, remember them hood t-shirts that had the Pillsbury Dope Boy Hustler, the McDonald's type of shirts that has like the weed in that, or the what else? The Tony the Tiger, the whoever getting high, the Picture Merrill t-shirt that had the Tupac and Biggie or whoever on there. What else? I remember them t-shirts though, like the no snitch, don't stop snitching t-shirts. Remember them shits, yo? Like I remember niggas used to be rocking them shits like on some hood shit. And especially like if it was the 90s, like what I remember about the 90s is like the overalls, right? Rather if you're leaving the straps on it hanging, like that was on some real hood thug shit. And you could rock a t-shirt with it or a hoodie with it. Like I remember those days. And even with the baggy pants, the leg, rather whichever leg you're rolling it up, you know, I remember the back in the days that was on some real urban hood thug shit. Or make it even more gangster was the fact that, you know, you tied a bandana around the leg part or near your ankle region. So I remember that was considered thugging back in the days, you know. So I mean, as far as like, I mean, technology be another video, but I know that even back then, you know, in the 90s, in the early 2000s, you know, especially the 90s, everybody was rocking like the beepers, you know. And of course the early 2000s we had the flip phones, of course, the Nextel chirps and all that, and Blackberries and things like that. As for entertainment, of course, the 90s we had our CD players or maybe Walkman. Of course, the early 2000s, of course, we had CD players and iPods, so, or any MP3 player. So those were the days as well too. But back to the whole fashion tip, it's like I like I said, like I remember when people used to wear, like, even with the tall tees, like the white t-shirts, like especially in the South, the white tees represent like how the French Eye boys be looking clean and fresh with their white tee, also on some dope boy shit. And then they had parties where you have the white tee party, and if you go in the party with the white tee, you get in for free. Otherwise, if you don't have a white tee, you have to pay to get in. So I remember those were the days, you know. Well, I mean, it doesn't even matter what color you had on the tall tees. Like, it'd be white, blue, black, green, yellow, orange, baby blue, navy blue, burgundy, whatever color, you know what I'm saying? And I remember even the days where you had like the two double, like you had one t-shirt and another t-shirt too. Like, it's like it would coordinate. Like, you have one, it's like it make your t-shirts look more like a double, like for example, on the collar region, it's like it's white, but the outside of the shirt would be black, and the outer sleeve will be white or whatever. So I remember those days of rocking. Me personally, I was rocking that shit too. And even with do-rags, I mean tying it from the back, you know, I was rocking that when niggas stopped doing that. And then after a while, I just left the cape all out as it is, you know. So I feel like with like the do-rags were different ways of tying it, how 50 and Nelly were rocking their do-rags. That's how I wanted to rock my do-rag when they started doing that shit. You know, just tying it from the back, rather if you're wearing a fitted cap or a skull hat, or we call them scullies in New York. What else? Just, you know, like I said, like the fashion of it, you know, like we used to dress like that, you know, with rather if you had a headband, wristbands that will match the jerseys you're wearing, or just whatever clothes you're wearing. Those were the days, man. And like I used to even wear polo shirts back then, like rather if it's like Sean John, Rockaware, or South Pole or something like that. I used to rock those, but after a while, the polo shirts make you look like fucking Carlton Banks from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So I was like, man, I'm not rocking them shits no more. I stopped rocking them back in 2009, you know, or 10, one of those years. But I just feel like it was not my style, you know. It looks better if you're just wearing it professionally, wearing it, working at like a store or some shit. But as like an attire, like your street normal everyday clothes, no. I don't even like wearing them shits like I used to, you know. Like I feel like early 2000s polo shirts were a lot cool with the striped designs and shit like that. I mean, as far as like back to the early 2000s, you know, in the 90s, of course, they had those striped shirts and hoodies and stuff like that. But all I can remember is just, you know, shirt and t-shirts, the jeans, the light denim jeans, and, you know, just the lugs and FUBU. And the FUBU type of like jerseys that look like basketball jerseys or football jerseys and shit like that. That I remember, the and ones and stuff like that. I mean, that's what I was remember seeing, and even some of the stuff I was rocking, the Echoes. You know, even with the FUBU that had the Fat Albert on there. You know, even with the sweaters. I remember the days they used to have one of them samurai anime t-shirts that had like the button-ups that's like super long. The only niggas who rocking them are just nerds, the black nerds. You know what I mean? But other than that, like early 2000s trends were like, they're like, the 90s was cool. I like the 90s look, but I feel like the early 2000s, when I became like a preteen, close to being like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, those were the days for me to just be rocking some shit like that, you know? Like I said, like rocking the Dickies that on some LA shit, because usually niggas from LA or jail niggas were rocking Dickies until it made it look cool. You know, like I remember those days that I had like the button up that matches the outfit, like the all blacks, the khakis, the whites, you know, shit like that. Like those were like the days that I was rocking Dickies, you know. Even with the pants, I had like the khaki color, tan color, the all black. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, my whole thing is, it's like, there ain't no fashion like the early 2000s fashion. Like I said, with this generation, everything is like either fits or too tight. And even with me, I'm at the days where I'm dressing like in today's generation, but I'm not wearing like one of them goofy ass colors or goofy ass tight ass pants or whatever. Like I mean my thing is I'll fuck with just the ripped jeans. I'll fuck with those. I'll wear shirts that is like normal fit, a little like baggy on the side, like a loose fit, you know, like that's what I would mostly rock with, you know. As far as like I wear anything that's like superhero related, anime related, hip hop style related, that is like 90s and stuff like that, like Wu-Tang or whoever, that, or any shirts that has like hood movies and shit like that. That's what I would normally wear. Like I don't give a fuck. Like rather if I'm overweight or skinny or whatever, I'm not dressing like on some tight ass clothes. Like fuck that. Like I feel like I lose my patience wearing some tight shit. Like no cat, cause when I tried on skinny jeans, I'm like, no, I'm not wearing no super skinny ass fucking jeans. Fuck that, you know. But it's just at the end of the day, I feel like I can't allow like society to tell me what's cool and what not, what is cool to wear. But if I was told to wear some shit that is like early 2000s look, and somebody paid me to do that shit, I would dress like it's 2002, like I was on a fucking like Fabulous video or a 50 Cent to the like the club video or something like that. I would dress like that in a heartbeat. Just give me whatever team, like rather it's a basketball jersey or football jersey or wear anything in that nature. Shit, I will dress like that. If they said if I have to dress like that in 1 week and I get $1 million, shit, I get best of both worlds. I don't give a fuck if these Gen Z motherfuckers will look at me strange as hell. I'd be like, yo, I'd rather dress like this and then dress like a little bitch ass nigga any fucking day, and I'm getting money for that shit. So fuck that, y'all. And lastly, before I leave, it's like I be seeing my dude, the time travel of the year 2005 dude that does his thing, and I be like I like the fact that when I watch his videos, it make me think like, damn, like this is how niggas would act like if they were in the year 2005. You know, questioning niggas based on how they dress and questioning how people in this generation are pretty much acting. So to me, like, I like his videos, even though he sound like Mickey Mouse and all that, but it's funny. But yeah, it makes you think like, damn, like we went from dressing like this to now we're dressing like that. So I mean, it makes you think so much of nostalgia at the same time, because when like I said, when I watch like 90s and early 2000s music videos and movies and even with video games, it's like, damn, like it used to be cool, even with like certain styles, like you have your hair a certain way, like, you know, of course we had people rocking dark light Caesars, no silly nilly designs and shit like that. Like that was mostly 80s and early 90s shit. But you know, 2000s, they just kept it in a simple way of having their hair. You know, if you want to get your hair braided, you can do that. Allen Iverson cornrow braids, those were the shit. Or if you just wanted a simple afro, like a low afro or low cut afro or something like that, you can do that. If you just wanted your hair to be like dreaded up, you can. I mean, people were rocking dreads back in the days, but in this day and age, everybody got all types of different dreads with different colors, or some like red, blue, green, yellow, orange, all that other crazy silly nilly shit. It's like niggas is trying to look like Super Saiyans in this day and age, you know. Especially with the females, they also, you know, them chicks be looking like Sonny the Toucan type bitches, you know, and everybody following the Nicki Minaj pink shit. You know, but I mean, like I said, like the early 2000s were like the fashion will be always be better than, in my opinion, this generation, the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, hell, even the before Christ, when niggas was rocking togas and robes and shit, and even in Africa, that niggas was wearing like robes and be butt naked with beads and shit, and all that. The early 2000s, in my opinion, will and forever be the most trendy, coolest style of dressing ever. You know what I'm saying? Sagging or not, I rock with early 2000s, man. Like that's the style I miss. Like if they can bring back some 90s bullshit and 80s bullshit, then they gotta bring back in late 2020s or 2030s, bring back the baggy shit. But make it, they might fuck it up, but they might make it look cool. Who knows? But I'm gonna be like in my late 30s and early 40s by then. So, I mean, in my opinion, hopefully the melanin makes me still look like I'm still 18 or in my early 20s or something like that. Cause how I looking like now, people be telling me I still look young and all this shit. My 20s or 18 or whatever. I mean, my whole thing is this though, guys. Like, this generation is just really tacky. There are some clothes that I can rock with, but majority of the shit that is considered cool look atrocious as hell. Like, this generation lacks style. Like, there's always mismatch, bright fucking colors. Like, one color is different from another color and all this other bullshit. Like, that's one of the things I hate about the 2020s, like, and the 2010s on top of that. It's just everything. Like, the 2010s, it was just some tight shit, but at least the color was like, everything was somewhat matching. But the 2020s, like the late 2010s and the 2020s, everything just discombobulated with style and shit, and everybody's rocking Christian Dior and shit that motherfuckers can't even fucking afford, and wearing some Gucci and shit. I mean, niggas was wearing Gucci since the 80s, but everybody's trying to dress like, I mean, that's how it is. Even in the early 2000s, everybody, no matter whatever generation come from, everybody trying to dress like their favorite rapper. But compared to the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, I'll just have to say, like, the 90s and the early 2000s, it was so simplistic. You know what I mean? And even like in the early 2000s, like, some shit was expensive, but guess what? Nobody didn't have to dress like no bitch in order for them to be considered cool. That's the difference between the 90s and the early 2000s and now. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I can really say at this point. On the next video, I might even talk about like TV and technology and shit. So that's gonna be on the next video. So anyways, guys, I'm gonna have to wrap this video up. Thank y'all for watching. Please leave your comments on the comment sections below. I'd like to know everybody's opinion. How do you feel about the 90s and the early 2000s trend? What do you wish that they can bring back? Or tell me the times what you used to dress back in the days, or if you still rocking them, or anything that I missed out. Please leave it on the comment sections below. Don't forget to hit that bell icon, like, share, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Until then, folks, SBX wrapping this up. Thanks for watching. Peace.